Water. Please. Water. Alex could barely speak. His lips were cracked, his skin burned by the brutal African sun. His designer shirt clung to his back, soaked in sweat and dust. A week ago, he was in London, making million-dollar deals in glass towers. Now he was lost in the middle of nowhere. No phone signal, no driver, no guide. Just endless sand and silence. His luxury Jeep had broken down hours ago. His last bottle of water was gone. He had money, watches, and power, but none of that could help him now. He stumbled forward, each step heavier than the last, until he saw her, a girl. Dark skin glowing in the sun, a simple blue dress swaying as she walked. She balanced a clay jar of water on her head like it weighed nothing. Her eyes were deep and calm, so calm they made his panic stop. She froze when she saw him. "Are you alive?" she asked in soft, accented English. Alex opened his mouth to answer, but collapsed before he could speak. The next thing he felt was cool water touching his lips. Then a voice, gentle, warm, safe. "You're okay now. You'll be all right." Her name was Amina. She was just a village girl, poor, quiet, and kind. But to Alex, she was more than that. For 3 days, she cared for him, fed him, nursed him, watched over him like he was someone precious. He couldn't stop looking at her eyes. They weren't impressed by his expensive watch or foreign shoes. She didn't ask for anything. She just helped. When Alex finally left, his body had recovered. But his heart hadn't. Because he left something behind, and he didn't know how to get it back. Back in London, everything looked the same. Glass towers, fast cars, and people chasing more. But Alex didn't feel the same. He sat in his office, staring out at the gray sky. Emails piled up. Calls came in. Deals were waiting. But all he could think about was Amina. The way she smiled when he thanked her for the simplest things. The way her hands moved, so gentle as she cleaned the cuts on his face. The sound of her laugh when he tried to speak her language and got every word wrong. His assistant knocked. "Sir, your flight to Tokyo is in 2 hours." Alex didn't move. He had been home for 2 weeks, but nothing felt right. Not the soft bed, not the expensive meals, not the city skyline. Every night he dreamed of her, and every morning he woke up with an ache he didn't know how to explain. He opened his phone, searched for her village again. The name was hard to spell. He didn't even know if she had a phone or how to contact her. He only knew one thing for sure. He had to go back. He couldn't forget her. Wouldn't. She saved his life. Now he had to find a way to give her something back. Maybe even his heart. The private jet landed on a cracked airstrip surrounded by dry grass and waving heat. Alex stepped out, trading his tailored suit for a simple shirt and worn jeans. This time, he didn't bring an assistant, a camera crew, or reporters. Just himself. And one small bag. The driver waiting by the Jeep looked surprised. "You come back?" he asked. "Why? You already left this place." Alex smiled faintly. "I left, but I forgot something important." The road back to the village was long and rough. Hours passed, dust swirling in the air. Memories hit him with every mile, collapsing under the sun, the taste of water on dry lips, and her eyes filled with calm strength. When they finally reached the village, it was quieter than he remembered. Children played under a tree. A few women stirred large pots over open fires. Chickens clucked. Everyone paused to look as the Jeep rolled in. Alex stepped down slowly, scanning every face. But she wasn't there. He approached an older woman with kind eyes. "I'm looking for someone," he said carefully. Her name is Amina. She helped me when I was lost here." The woman's face changed. Her eyes narrowed just slightly, as if measuring him. "You're the man from the desert," she said. "She spoke of you." His heart skipped. "Where is she?" The woman hesitated, then nodded toward a small house at the edge of the village. "She is there, but her life is simple. She doesn't expect you to come back." Alex thanked her and walked slowly toward the house. He didn't know what he was going to say. All he knew was he had come this far, and he wasn't leaving without seeing her again. Alex stood outside the small mud brick house, his heart pounding louder than any boardroom speech he'd ever given. He raised his hand to knock and froze. What if she didn't want to see him? What if she had forgotten him, moved on, or worse, never thought of him at all? Before he could decide, the door opened, and there she was, Amina. Her hair was pulled back, her dress plain, her feet bare on the dusty ground. But to Alex, she looked like royalty. Her eyes met his and widened. "Alex," she whispered, as if afraid he would vanish. He tried to smile. "Hi." For a moment, neither of them moved. Then Amina stepped out, closing the door behind her. "Why are you here?" I had to see you," he said. "I couldn't stop thinking about you, about this place, about what you did for me." She looked down, then back up again. "You're not like us. Your world is big and shiny. I'm just a girl from a village." He shook his head. "You're the girl who saved my life." Amina didn't smile, but her voice softened. "I didn't think you'd come back." "I didn't think I would either," Alex admitted. "But nothing in my world made sense anymore. Not without you in it." The wind shifted, carrying the scent of firewood and wildflowers. Amina stepped closer. "You came all this way just to see me?" Alex nodded. "Yes, and to ask if I can stay, at least for a little while." She didn't answer right away, but her eyes, those deep, steady eyes, held something that made his heart feel full for the first time in weeks. "Then come," she said at last. "You can help me carry water." And just like that, the richest man in the room followed the poorest girl in the village, feeling for once like he was exactly where he belonged. Alex walked beside Amina through narrow dirt paths lined with wild grass and small trees. In his hand, he carried a heavy water container, a job she used to do alone every day. It was harder than he expected. "You're sweating," Amina teased, glancing sideways at him. "I'm surviving," he said, panting. "Barely." She laughed. The sound made him forget the heat. They reached the riverbank, where women washed clothes and children splashed in the shallows. Some stared at him. Others waved. Alex waved back, awkward but honest. "This is my world," Amina said simply. "No offices, no elevators, just sky, wind, and hard work." "I like your world," Alex said. "It's real." They filled the containers, and on the walk back, Alex asked her questions about her family, her dreams, her days. She spoke with quiet pride. No self-pity, no bitterness, just acceptance and strength. That night, she invited him to eat with her family. Boiled maize, beans, and sweet tea under the stars. He sat on a woven mat beside her, listening to crickets and the soft voices of villagers talking by firelight. It wasn't the Ritz, but it was the first time in years that Alex didn't feel lonely. As they sat in silence, Amina looked up at him and asked, "What are you really doing here, Alex? Just visiting?" He met her eyes. "No," he said. "I came to find something I didn't know I'd lost. And now that I've found it, I'm not sure I can leave again." Amina looked down, her fingers tightening around her cup. "You don't belong here," she said softly. Maybe not, he replied. But I think I might belong with you. The next morning the village woke with the sun, and so did Alex. Roosters crowed. The scent of firewood drifted through the air. Children's laughter echoed across the open fields. Amina was already up, washing clothes outside her home. Her hands moved quickly, water splashing over the fabric, her face calm and focused. Alex stood for a moment, just watching her. No makeup, no fancy clothes. Just her, and she was beautiful. He walked over, rolled up his sleeves, and knelt beside her. I'll help. She raised an eyebrow. You know how to wash clothes? No, he admitted, but I can learn. She handed him a wet shirt. Then start with this. They worked in silence at first, then slowly, between soap suds and sun, they talked. He told her about growing up in the city, about how lonely success could feel. She told him about losing her father young, and how she had taken care of her little sister ever since. You always smile, he said suddenly, even when things are hard. I smile, she replied, because it's the one thing the world can't take from me. He looked at her then, not just as the girl who saved him, but as a woman who had survived so much and still chose kindness. And in that moment, Amina looked back at him. Different. Not like a visitor, not like a stranger, but like a man. A moment passed between them, unspoken, delicate, and real. She turned away quickly, cheeks warm. You're terrible at washing, by the way. I'm improving, he grinned. And for the first time, she smiled at him like she meant it. What was supposed to be a short visit had now stretched into a week. Alex no longer woke to emails and meetings, but to the sound of goats bleating, pots clinking, and Amina's quiet voice calling her little sister to breakfast. He'd learned to start the fire, helped repair a broken fence, even played soccer with barefoot children who laughed every time he missed a shot, which was often, and every day he found himself watching Amina more closely, not just because she was beautiful, but because everything she did had purpose, grace, strength. But late one evening, as they sat near the fire, Amina grew quiet. You'll leave soon, she said, not looking at him. Alex paused. Do you want me to? That's not the question, she said softly. People like you don't stay in places like this. I'm not people like me anymore, he said. Amina glanced at him, skeptical. I'm serious, Alex continued. I've been everywhere, seen everything money can buy, but I've never felt the way I do here, with you. She looked at the flames for a long time before answering. And what happens if you stay? What would your world say? I don't care what they say. You will, she said, voice low. One day when this feels too small, too different. Alex reached for her hand gently. I don't know what the future holds, he said, but I know one thing. I didn't come here looking for you. But now that I've found you, I don't want to leave without knowing if there's a chance for us. She didn't pull her hand away, but she didn't answer either. The fire crackled between them, quiet, slow, and steady, like something just beginning to burn. 2 days later, the call came. Alex's company needed him back. A major investor was threatening to pull out. A press interview was scheduled. His name was in headlines again. And just like that, reality knocked on the door he had tried to forget. He found Amina in the field, gathering herbs with her little sister. The sun painted her skin in golden light, her laugh soft and warm. But when he walked up to her, the smile slowly faded. You're leaving, she said. Not a question, a truth. Alex nodded. I have to go back, just for a while. Amina stood up straight. Of course. I'll come back, he said quickly. I just need to take care of things. 2 weeks, maybe 3. She looked away, brushing dirt from her hands. I don't belong there, she said quietly. And you don't belong here forever. That's not true, Alex said, stepping closer. I belong where you are. You don't even know me, she whispered. Not really. It was just a moment. No, he said, his voice firm now. It was more than that. You know it. I know it. She met his eyes finally. Hers were filled with something he couldn't quite read. Fear, maybe. Or something deeper. Then go, she said. And if you truly mean it, come back. Alex reached for her hand one last time. I will, he promised. And then he turned and walked away. The ride to the airstrip felt longer than the first time. The sky was overcast. The village slowly disappeared in the rearview mirror. But what hurt most was that he didn't see her watching him leave. He didn't know if she believed him. He just knew. He wasn't finished with her. Not even close. London was loud again. Flashing cameras, meetings stacked back to back, and assistants running behind him with coffee and papers. Alex was back in his suit, in his glass office, high above the city. But something was missing. Everything was. He sat through conference calls and nodded at investors, but his mind drifted. To fire-lit nights. To the sound of Amina's laughter. To the way she looked at him. Not with fear or admiration, but with truth. He ate expensive dinners, but nothing tasted right. He went to sleep in a bed with silk sheets, but never rested. At first, he texted his driver back in Africa every few days, asking for news. No answer from her. A week passed, then 2. On the 15th night, he stood in his penthouse, staring at the sky, and made a decision. He walked to his safe, took out a small wooden box, one he had bought the day before he left Africa the first time. Inside was a bracelet made of leather and beads. Simple, handmade, like her. He ran his fingers over it, then picked up his phone. Book me a flight, he told his assistant. To Tokyo? She asked. No, he said, a faint smile forming for the first time in days. To Africa. The sun was setting as Alex's plane touched down on the same dusty runway. Everything looked just like before. The wide open sky, the dry wind, the orange glow over the fields. Everything. Except her. He drove straight to the village. People remembered him, smiled, some even waved. But when he asked where Amina was, the answers were vague. She went to visit family, one person said. She left a few days ago, said another. No one seemed sure. Or maybe no one wanted to say. Alex stood outside her home, staring at the closed door. The house was quiet. The small garden she used to tend was overgrown. The water jar that always sat by the steps was gone. It felt wrong, like something had been taken. He sat down on the front step and waited. An hour passed, then 2. Darkness fell, and the stars came out, but Amina didn't return. Alex looked up at the sky and whispered, I came back, Amina, just like I said. And still, nothing. He stayed the night in the village, but couldn't sleep. The silence wasn't peaceful anymore. It was heavy. In the morning, he packed a small bag and started walking, asking questions, visiting nearby towns, talking to people. He didn't know where she was, but he knew one thing for sure. He wasn't going back to London. Not without her. 3 days passed. Alex moved from village to village, asking strangers if they'd seen her, describing her smile, her voice, her spirit, though none of that could be captured in words. Most people shook their heads. Some offered directions, hints, half-stories. Then finally, in a small town near the edge of a dusty highway, someone said, There's a girl who sells herbs in the market. She's quiet, kind, Sounds like you're Amina." Alex's heart jumped. He thanked the man and walked quickly toward the open-air market. The sun was high. Colorful umbrellas shaded wooden tables filled with spices, fruit, handmade jewelry. Voices called out prices. Children weaved through crowds. And then he saw her. She was arranging small bundles of mint and dried leaves on a cloth. Her hair was tied back with a scarf. Her hands moved the same way he remembered, calm and steady. He stopped a few steps away. "Miss, how much for the strongest medicine you have?" he asked, his voice soft but shaking. She looked up and froze. For a second, neither of them moved. Then Amina stood slowly. "Alex," he smiled. "Hi. You came back. I told you I would." She stared at him, searching his face for something real. "I waited for a while," she said, "but then I thought, maybe I imagined all of it." Alex stepped closer. "You didn't. I meant every word." She looked down, then up again. "Why are you here?" "To find you," he said, "and to ask you something." Her breath caught in her throat. "I'm not asking you to change who you are," he said. "I'm not here to drag you into my world. I'm here to tell you. I want to build a new one. With you." Amina stood still, her hands clutching the edge of her scarf, eyes locked on his. The market sounds faded around them. The haggling, the laughter, the rustle of leaves in baskets, all became distant noise. "You came all this way," she said, almost in disbelief. "I would have gone twice as far," Alex replied. "For you." Amina looked down. "But why? I'm not like the women in your world. I've never been on a plane. I don't know anything about business or cities or your life." "I don't want someone from my world," Alex said, stepping closer. "I want someone who made me want to become better. Kinder. Real." She looked up, eyes filled with emotion. "Alex, I don't care where we live. I don't care if we start from nothing. I just know that the only place I feel whole is wherever you are." There was a long silence. Then Amina finally spoke. "I'm scared," she whispered, "of leaving everything I know, of being judged, of not fitting in." Alex reached for her hand. "Then let's be scared together. Let's figure it out day by day. I'm not offering you a fantasy, just my truth, my heart, my promise." Amina looked at their hands, then into his eyes, and then she nodded. Not fast, not with drama, but with quiet, honest certainty. "Okay," she said. "Let's go. Together." Alex smiled, the kind of smile he hadn't felt in years. And for the first time, Amina smiled with her whole face. Not as the girl who saved a stranger, but as the woman who had just said yes to a new beginning. That night, they didn't stay in a hotel. They stayed in a small guest hut behind the market, with thin walls, a kerosene lamp, and the sound of crickets outside. It wasn't luxury, but it was enough. They sat outside under the stars, the sky wide and endless above them. Alex leaned back, looking up. "I've closed million-dollar deals in the most expensive rooms in the world," he said, "but nothing felt as important as this moment." Amina sat beside him, knees pulled close to her chest, the hem of her dress brushing the ground. "People will talk," she said softly. "They'll wonder what you're doing with someone like me." He turned to her. "Let them wonder." She smiled, but there was a flicker of worry in her eyes. "I don't want to be your secret," she said. Alex shook his head. "You won't be. You're not a secret. You're my story, the part I was missing." Silence fell again, but this time it was peaceful. He reached into his bag and pulled out the small wooden box, the one he had brought all the way from London. "I was going to give you this the day I left," he said. But I was afraid. He opened it. Inside was the handmade bracelet, leather and beads, simple but beautiful. Amina gasped softly. You kept it. I bought it in your village the night after I met you. I didn't know why then. I just knew it was meant for you. He slipped it onto her wrist, gently, and then, without fanfare, without big words, he said, Amina, I'm not here to make you mine. I'm here to ask if you'll let me be yours. She looked down at the bracelet, then up at him. Yes, she whispered, and the stars above them said nothing. But it felt like the whole world was listening. A week later, they stood at the airport. Amina wore a soft yellow dress and carried only one small bag. Her hair was braided neatly, and her eyes, though calm, held 1,000 questions. Alex reached for her hand as they walked toward the gate. Are you sure? He asked. She nodded, but hesitated. Everything I know is behind me now. He smiled gently. And everything ahead. We'll build together. The flight attendant looked surprised when she saw them, an elegant businessman and a village girl, hand in hand. But neither of them noticed. They only had eyes for each other. On the plane, Amina sat by the window, staring out at the clouds. She had never flown before, never left her country. Alex watched her, amazed. Not because she looked out of place, but because she looked like she belonged everywhere. She turned to him, voice soft. What if I fail? You won't, he said. But if you ever fall, I'll be right there to catch you. She leaned her head on his shoulder. And for the first time in a long time, Alex didn't feel like a man trying to escape his world. He felt like a man stepping into a better one, not because of where they were going, but because of who was sitting beside him. London felt different this time, colder, busier, faster. But Amina walked through it all with quiet strength. She didn't shrink in the crowd. She didn't flinch at the flashing lights or noisy traffic. She held Alex's hand, chin lifted, eyes wide with wonder. They didn't move into a mansion. Instead, Alex brought her to a cozy apartment overlooking the park. Simple, sunlit, peaceful. A place to grow, not to impress. He introduced her to his staff, to his friends, to the world, not as a guest, not as a mystery, but as the woman he loved. Some people whispered, some raised eyebrows, but Amina didn't care, and neither did Alex. Together, they walked through charity galas and quiet dinners, through office meetings and lazy Sundays. She started taking English classes, planting flowers on the balcony, and teaching him how to cook her favorite village dishes. And every night, before bed, she'd sit on the floor with her feet tucked under her and tell him stories from her childhood about rivers, storms, laughter, and loss. Alex listened like a man hearing music for the first time. One evening, months later, he came home early with something behind his back. A ring. Nothing flashy. Just a gold band with a small carved symbol from her language. He knelt on the same woven mat they had once shared beside a fire in Africa. I don't want a love that makes sense to the world, he said. I want one that makes sense to my heart. Amina's eyes filled with tears, and with no crowd, no cameras, no stage. She said yes, and in that moment, two worlds stopped being two. They became one. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to hit the like button and share it with someone who believes in unexpected love. Subscribe to the channel for more beautiful stories like this, where love always finds a way. And turn on notifications so you never miss the next chapter. Thank you for watching. See you in the next story. Star.